Well, good day, everybody. Today, we're going to look at what you see on your screen there, which is a 51Y23-13 white red, which is an Arvin radio that goes on your handlebars. This is a picture of the one that I have, and it's slightly busted apart. I'll tell you a little bit more about the problems there in a little bit. And it's also very dirty. That's the front with kind of the guts pulled out. And that's the problem, was the battery case. The radio actually worked fine, but the when I got it, the battery case was filthy. And so I tried to clean it, and when I tried to clean it, it just, the springs for in the battery holder, the springs were just so deteriorated away that they just fell off. And so there was no way to really repair that, I don't think. So I searched for another battery holder like that one, and I'll show you that later on. There was an interesting problem with the first one that I got in the mail. Start off with there. I mean, that's just this is just the same sort of cleaning that I did for the little shop radio in my first video, and that's just some Gojo and a toothbrush, and those front knobs were really dirty. It's I can't find the camera. There we go. And they clean up really good. You know, you scrub a little bit, the Gojo takes all the stuff off, and they look fine. So there's, I think that's, I cut ahead to, I think that's knob number 2, knob number 1. So there you go. So those are all nice and cleaned up, ready to go. To try to clean up again, before we get to the fixing the battery, which is really the only repair for this, it's not a major repair to make this thing work, but to try to get it to look pretty, we just went back with Gojo, and I'm using the brush there to get into the little fine places in the grill work, and then trying to push some tissue down in there, a paper towel, to try to get that stuff out. Worked okay, you know, that worked pretty well. I had to make a couple passes at it, but it worked just fine. And I didn't show you, I won't show you the part where I did the inside of that, because of someone left batteries in there. The printed circuit board was filthy, and I used that bottle of it's called Something New, which is really for jewelry. I tried to find something that was pretty tame to clean the circuit board, and so I used that stuff with a Q-tip to clean up the back of that thing. It was in really bad shape. That's probably not a great product for that. I don't know. So if you leave a comment, whatever you can actually use on the back of a printed circuit board without screwing it up, I'd be interested to know what works in that kind of situation. Anyway, so while we're going through and cleaning the front there, I'll tell you that I bought this at a flea market, and you know, when you look at prices on eBay now, they seem to have firmed up quite a bit. You know, maybe you get, I have some radios I collected from eBay, but I'd usually wait until I felt like I was getting a bargain. And sometimes now, you know, the prices can be pretty high. Well, this was a purchase at a flea market, and I would suggest, this is my opinion, for this hobby, to go to your local flea market or one in the town next door or whatever, and also to nice little junky antique malls. That's where you're going to really find these kinds of radios at a decent price, and at a price where you can negotiate a little bit and get a better deal. The person at the and what you see here is, I'm going to go through and very carefully with an X-Acto knife, I'm going to try and get some paint off of there, and if I'm it was a little slow, but if you're careful at that, and there's probably a better way to do that, but if you're careful with that, you can remove little spots of paint and stuff without making a mark, a super scratch on the. I think when I got through, it was fine, except the surface was a little dull. But I'm going to go through and shine it up at the end, so it's okay. But you do have to kind of be careful. But anyway, if you go to a flea market or you go to an antique mall and they recognize you, I mean, I developed relationships with certain people at the flea market that said, well, what are you looking for? Tell them what you're looking for, or they may ask, oh, I've seen you here before, what is it you're looking for? And tell them you're looking for these, old test equipment, collectible old radios, that sort of thing. And so that's really how I got this, was in a package deal, and I'm sorry about the shaking of the camera. I'll talk more about that in a minute. I got this in a package deal. The lady knew I liked radios. She found someone who retired who was trying to get rid of some radios, and she bought about 10 of those from him, 10 radios. And I bought most of them, but the point is, now she looks for radios for me. And so, and I also felt bad that I didn't buy the whole thing because she picked all those just for me. I went back the next week and said, I feel bad I left some of those radios behind since you really got those just for me. I'll buy all the rest of them. And she said she said, sorry, I've sold all of them. So I picked out the nicest ones. But that's a way to get a really good deal. And the other thing at flea markets is to ask to plug those in, the radios. I know that's dangerous, but if someone says, oh, I plugged it in and it worked, I many times have asked them to show me. And a lot of times if it's dead or it just hums real bad, you just go, oh my gosh, something terrible is wrong. So you can also kind of negotiate a better deal. No, you're not supposed to plug them in, but if somebody else has already done it, then sort of the damage is done. So here we're going to take the old battery case out, and we're going to check these. I guess I'm trying to memorize which wires go where there. I'm not sure. It's not that hard, right? Shouldn't be. And here is the first case that I bought off eBay. And you'll notice that is not 3 batteries in series. That is 1 battery, and the way it's wired up, and in my zeal, thumbs down, that's nasty, because you're going to get 1.5 volts into the radio, and the other two batteries are just shorting themselves out. They're just running current through, and I actually put batteries in there once, and they started to heat up, and that's when I thought, I need to look at this. In my excitement, I didn't look at it, and I really should have looked at it. So this was another one that I ordered, and you can see they're in series, and everything's going to be fine. So the guy for the first one that didn't work, he said, well, what do you want to do? You want your money back? I said, no, I want you to look at your stock. Look in your stock and see if you can find one that's wired correctly. He had, I guess, God knows how many he had from China. And he got back to me, and he said, well, they're all wired the same. What do you want to do? And I said, well, I'll send you this one back, but I don't want it. He just refunded my money. And then I found another source to to get another battery case. So I'm going to alligator clip these in just to see if this works. So I've got that hooked to the power, and I don't have any knobs on the front, so we'll go in here and turn it on. Okay, go ahead and turn it on. Hopefully you can hear this. So that's going to work fine.
Listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you when you should or should not
Yep. So that's going to work okay. So let's go ahead and undo that. Undo the alligator clips. Get in my little bag of goodies. When I initially took this apart, again, I started this little project before I started making any videos, so it was kind of in the works. So I'd stored all these away. Hopefully, yeah, that's the old battery case, and you can see what's busted there, and there's no way to put it back together. Boop, off it goes. We're not going to see it again. So I'd started on this. Someone had been in the back of it to try to fix it once before. Couldn't get it going for some reason. So now we're going to put the board back in. There's some standoffs that screw down to keep the circuit board secured, and then at the top of the standoffs there's another little threaded area for the battery case to go in and secure to that. Now, so the old battery case had a little flange on the side of it. I guess that's the best way to call it. And it had some holes in that flange to secure it to some of these standoffs. My new battery case didn't have that. And I couldn't quite figure out a way to make that work and secure this new one in the same way as the old one. So unfortunately, this new battery is going to be sort of loose in the back, but there's no way that anything can short out there. The back side of the battery box or battery holder is all plastic, and there's nothing in there that's going to cause any problems. So we're going to strip the wires, and then we're going to solder these together. Now, for some reason, when we get in here in a minute, I do not know, going through my video clips, the actual soldering, I didn't have any of doing the actual soldering of this into the wires in the little radio. So let's see if I'm smart enough to figure it out. That goes there, that goes there. Maybe that one, I don't know. No. Maybe I should have shortened this. And you'll see my camera wiggling a little bit. I'll talk about that more in a minute. I'm actually using, okay, so there the soldering, the soldering has occurred. And so I put a little shrink wrap on there, and we're going to, in the places I soldered, and just to make it a little tidier. And so that won't bump up against anything. There you go. Okay. So, again, I'm not sure. I'm not sure my problem is there. You can only, Dan, it can only go in one way. So, put that in there, and we'll put the batteries in, and we'll give it another little test here in a second. And surely I can do this. Battery 1. Two. And there we go. So, yeah, the screws, whoever did this before, I'm going to check my little bag, nothing in there. The screws that, since this video has been made, I've got some screws to attach that back, but whoever tried before to fix it, it didn't work, and they just didn't bother to screw the back on, so the old screws are gone. So this was in the middle of the day, and yet I was surprised this little bitty thing, the volume that was available on it, and in the middle of the day the sensitivity was very good. I got lots of stations, and I messed with it at night too, and it's amazing, the sensitivity. I wouldn't think, for what it is, that would be the case. So let's see what it sounds like here. Yeah, that may be hard to hear. Okay. I don't need to slide all the way through the whole AM band, but okay. So everything works fine. So the last little go here. Okay, here we go. So we're going to do the outside of the cabinet. Make it Novus. 3, 2, 1. That's what we're going to do. All right. And this stuff works great. I've used it on some other products, and this is the best tip I ever got. Well, maybe not the best one, but it's a great tip from watching other videos from people fixing up old radios. I'm sorry for the shake. I guess the best thing I can tell you is that it should be constant improvement when you're making videos, and I will fix this problem. But my number 2, so we'll go to the second one. So the third one was more abrasive, and then the second's a little less abrasive. I'm actually recording this with the cheapest Android phone that I could find, $99 on GearBest.com. Takes 6 or 8 weeks to get it from China, but it works great. But the holder I've got it on is connected to the edge of my workbench, and my workbench is apparently not so steady, so I don't notice this when I'm doing the work. But man, that's bad. So we're trying every time to make our videos a little better. Hopefully this time we've corrected a little bit on the audio side, and we've got some lighting issues, I think, number 1. So now we're going to do the final product on here, microfiber towel this time. And so hopefully the improvement over time will happen sort of naturally. We won't do this shaking again, I promise. We'll get rid of that. And I need an additional light in there. The only light source is the one in the upper right. You can see the edge of my lamp. So there's that process. There's the back, and I should have shown you a close up before we started, but yay! So it looks good. It looks really good. So you can see one little 3, 2, 1. We're going to do the same thing to the case. Again, this is the same sort of process of just rubbing down with this product to get out the scratches. The surface of that was dirty, and it had light scratches. It had some heavier scratches, and you saw on that back that there were one little area there that about the 11 o'clock position that just wouldn't come out. But still, it's from 19. I guess there's a little spot there that won't come out either. This was done about 1970, I think, this particular thing. So it's got some age on it. When I got it, I thought, oh, this looks early 60s to me, and that's kind of what I hoped would be the case. But not so. I believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe these were done, this would have been produced about 1970. So I'm getting the Novus number 1 even down in these crevices here on the grill on the front. And I had to make more than one pass at that front to get it clean, but it makes a big difference. If it's not clean, it doesn't look that good. So So again, mechanically, this is not much of an electronic fix. It was just the battery case, which is good. And the silver faceplate on the front, where the dial is and the on-off volume switch, I worked on that as well, but I really couldn't get it. It's a kind of a cheap, I don't know what it's made out of, but it was kind of a cheap thing there, and it did clean up. The dirt came off, but I couldn't really make it look particularly nice, but good enough for me, I guess. So again, there you go. All right, so that's pretty much it. Nice little cool thing. Volume's great. Picks up a lot of stations. And we'll put that on the shelf for a while. Let's see. And there we go. So got the screws for the back, so that won't happen anymore. That's it. Thank you. If you enjoyed my videos, I hope you'll like and subscribe. And please don't forget to click on the little bell button so you'll be notified anytime I post a new video.